Welcome to the Sound of Movement podcast. Today we are talking about training psychology, short-term versus long-term goals. This is something that if you get right, you are going to see some serious change in your body and you will be driven towards your goals faster than you can imagine. Stick around.
Like Vasquez said in Aliens, let's rock. If you're new to the tribe, we got Rich behind the mix. My name is Yani Bormeister. Across the table from me is my brother Rad, and we are Unity Gym, experts at turning driven people into athletes. This episode is brought to you by the Unified Movement System. It is the only online program effectively balancing strength, flexibility, and fitness in every workout so you can unleash your inner athlete. Get daily coaching by us, plus our Epic Foundations Prep program and revolutionary structural balance blueprint to create your ideal programs and optimize your performance. As a valued listener, use the link in the description to get your first month free. Right now, we also have a wicked 72-hour flash sale that we're going to extend. We'll talk about that a bit later. But it is all about flexibility, and you can grab our flexibility masterclasses at a massive discount. All three of them, all three levels, all three stages. Do not miss out. Before we get started, big warm welcome. If you are on the live stream in the UMS Movement Mastermind Facebook group, leave a comment and we'll send you some love. Remember, anyone can join and interact in that group. And lastly, a big shout out to our YouTube athletes catching the replay. Hit the like button to support the channel and subscribe if you like what you see. How are you today, Rad? Richie?
I am pretty good. It's weird having you back here, but...
It's weird being back, and I completely stuffed it up at the start there, just in case anyone caught that.
All good. I remember the first time I did a podcast as well, so that's all good.
And I worked really hard in the last week on developing a tan, and I look pasty as usual, so... a little bit disappointed in that. It was all for you guys lying in the sun the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I feel very naked too without my cap on. I'm rocking a beanie for those of you listening to the podcast. I usually wear a cap in the podcast room, and it's I'm just freaking out on all levels.
Here we are. No cap, no idea. This is all happening.
That's right. Which brings us to the topic of today's discussion, which is training psychology. We like to really drive deep in the dangers of the short-term mindset and short versus long-term goal setting, because quite frankly, this discussion is fueled by people having no idea. No idea of the consequences in not getting this right. No idea in the consequences of, charging for short-term goals without having the macro picture in mind,
Yep. We used to do it, right? You and I have been personal trainers for 17 years now. We opened Unity Gym 8 years ago. And when we opened Unity Gym, we were certainly selling people on short-term goals. Why? Because you got to pay the bills, right?
Yeah.
And you can have all the values that you want in the world, but you have to pay the bills. And it is very, very hard to sell people on long-term goals. And it took us a long time to gain the confidence to remarket our whole business and marketing message on the idea of long-term goals. And I'm so happy we did it, because now at Unity Gym and in our UMS online coaching tribe, we're surrounded by people that respect this and they buy in and they're there for the journey. The problem is that people you're fighting your ignorance versus the strong marketing message of the fitness industry. So ignorance, I'm not saying that as an insult, I'm saying it as a matter of fact. If you don't know better, you're ignorant of an issue, right? You don't understand this stuff, and so you look for an answer, and you start seeing every gym saying, join the 30-day challenge, or, get, fat to fit in 90 days, or whatever the bullshit they're peddling is. And the problem is, you actually can have a really good transformation in 30 to 90 days. You can. We've had people lose 4.5, 5 kilos in 30 days. We've had people lose 15 kilos of fat shown by DEXA scan. We've had people lose 18 kilos of fat in 12 weeks shown by DEXA scan without losing muscle at the same time. But the hard part is keeping it off. Or the hard part is if you gain strength and get buff in whatever it is, it's keeping it, right? It's, getting it isn't nearly as hard as keeping it.
Well, it's funny we're talking about this because I just spent a week with my mother and stepfather and father, and those of you who follow us for a while, we talk about this a lot. All of our parents are overweight. My father's done a great job at losing quite a lot of weight over the last 2 decades, but he's gained a bit of it back. He's still way ahead of where he was. But my mother and stepfather are quite overweight. They would be classified as morbidly obese if they were to see a doctor, and I had a lot of discussion with my mother about this. She's working extremely hard in her mind to get herself in shape and to, ensure longevity, because they've both worked extremely hard to get where they are in life, career-wise and financial-wise, but they've sacrificed their health along the way. And, mum's going to a gym a few days a week, usually I think 2 or 3 days a week, and training for an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. And, we were talking about this whole idea. She goes through these rapid periods where she does some radical intervention, which is usually a starvation diet and more exercise. And she's done it for as long as I've known her trying to lose weight, which would be 3 decades, 30 years probably. And periodically, a couple of times a year, she does something like this, and it just never works. It never ever works. She often loses weight. I've even known her to lose 16 kilos in a matter of months, a couple of months. But she rebounds every time, every single time. And she goes through these cycles. People talk about it, the term of yo-yo dieting. And my opinion and take on it is the quicker it goes, the quicker it comes. And a lot of people share, a lot of people share that opinion because we've experienced it as fitness professionals. And there's a fair bit of research behind this. It takes a certain amount of years for things to normalize and become your norm, and that's a mix of hormones sort of normalizing, your leptin and ghrelin levels sort of, and your satiety levels meeting your metabolism, and all of that stuff doesn't sort of change and adapt at the same pace. Just like the tissues in your body, bones, muscles, connective tissues like ligaments and tendons, they don't adapt to stimulus like strength stimulus at the same rates. Your metabolism and your hormones and your satiety don't adapt to weight loss at the same rate or weight gain at the same rate. And so you're left with a little bit of risk there, that if you lose a lot of weight really quickly, one, it often is not discriminatory and you tend to lose muscle mass at the same rate as fat mass, and that has pretty bad effect down the path. But two, you often feel really hungry when you've lost a lot of weight and dieted quite considerably. And therefore, when you sort of lose your momentum and lose your drive and motivation, you just overeat, you overconsume for your metabolism. And so, that is the most obvious. Weight loss is the most obvious. But this goes for everything, because It is difficult to change your body. It's very difficult to gain muscle. It's very difficult to lose fat, and it's easy to get motivated to do anything for a short amount of time. What's really, really hard is to keep doing it for a long period of time, long enough that it becomes a lifestyle norm.
Yep. I mean, this is why we created the health. Oh, we shouldn't even say created. Why we identified and then put it down on paper, the health hierarchy of needs, because if you really want to change your body, like what you've got to recognize is that it's like your current state of health, the state that your body's in, being 30 or 40 pounds overweight, not being weak and frail, not being able to move well, being in pain all the time, whatever it is that you're feeling right now is a direct snapshot and reflection of the choices that you've made through your life to get you there. Like, you are a living, breathing example of your environment that you've created around yourself. And so the hard thing that most people don't understand is that saying, all right, I'm going to lose 30 pounds in the next 3 months, like, it's a great goal and it's enough to get you started and off the couch, but it's not what the research shows. I was going to say it's what we've found, but it's not just what we've found. It's what all of these studies around diets for decades have found, right? Like, it just never works. The dieting, the crash course stuff, it never stays long term. I can't remember what the statistics are, but the statistics on Biggest Loser participants that bounce back and gain all the weight that they lost within the next year, and some even is alarming. Like, it's an alarmingly high number. It's a very small amount that maintain the weight loss that they achieved in those reality TV shows. And so the idea of the health hierarchy of needs, which is in order: motivation, daily habit of movement, nutrition, physique, movement mastery. Physique meaning to lose fat, build muscle, get into good shape and look good, be healthy, all of those things. Confidence. That comes after you've got motivation, exercise and nutrition right. And what people really need to get their head around is that it's like, to say I want to lose fat and that's why I'm going to go to the gym is a great source of motivation. It's really, or I want to get buff, I want to tone my body out, whatever language you use for yourself. I want to get in shape for summer. It's a great source of motivation. But if you gain that motivation, do yourself a favor and go well beyond just, okay, I'm going to follow this plan that's going to get me there in 30 or 90 days. And do what very few people do, which is follow this path that we're laying out for you and set yourself up for long-term success. And long-term success starts with 3 pillars. It starts with motivation and being very, very clear on why you're doing it, so that not what you want to do, but why you're doing it. So
can we just go a little deeper into this, what you're saying right now? Because I
sure.
know that you're going to skim across this,
Oh, yeah.
but this is something that's come up for me recently talking to my parents, that I think it's really important for people to understand. Because we always brush over motivation, and motivation as though it's like something that you just set and forget. Set some goals, create a plan, a strategy, identify your burning desire. But part of motivation that we don't talk about a lot is overcoming psychology and dogma and bullshit, head trash. And this is the thing that I believe is the reason why my mum's failing so miserably at achieving her goals and losing weight, and why, we spoke about an acquaintance off camera before, and why he doesn't achieve his goals, and why my stepfather won't even start exercising and addressing his diet, even though he so desperately needs to overcome some health issues that he's dealt with recently, and why my father is suffering back pain so severely and chronically and will never really fix it because he doesn't understand the motivation. Step 1, motivation. And the very first step for a lot of people is actually going to be breaking down some thought patterns and behavioural loops that are preventing them from even addressing their own problems and issues. I keep saying to my father, if you don't learn to make exercise part of your lifestyle and stop treating it as a pill, prescription for when you actually experience the back pain chronically enough that it gets your attention, you're going to just degenerate. If you're not growing, you're dying, right? Especially as you're aging in your 70s and whatever else, And the problem is that he doesn't get real about it, and he doesn't reflect enough. Okay, this is really serious. Like, if I don't start making this a priority, it's going to get worse over time. Same with my mother's health, same with stepfather's health, same with most people who are suffering ill health, disease, dis-ease, And that's the very first step, and that's part of the motivation process. So people look at us and go and are probably thinking all the time, why do they prioritize motivation first? Like, why is that so important? It's not just about setting goals. It's not just about finding your burning desire. Often that is even too difficult. You have to get over your head trash. Like lying to yourself about how much you eat, lying to yourself about how bad your back pain is and how serious or chronic an issue it is. Being in this la land about what it takes to fix the problem. I can just go see a doctor, or I can just take pain pills every day, or I can just do this and that's the easy solution. 9 times out of 10 people are stuck on an immense amount of head trash that needs to be addressed. And that's what we're talking about with motivation. You might not even be at the step where you're ready to set some goals. You might literally need to go see a psychologist or a dietitian or something like that first,
I reckon one of the worst things is something that you only just touched on and brushed over there, which is that if whatever you're feeling right now that you're unhappy with, if you don't work to change it, it's going to get worse, guaranteed. It's like if you had a dust build up in your home in a corner of your house and you looked at it and you're like, oh man, there's so much dust there. well, I can deal with it. It's not, that bad. I can deal with that much dust. And you don't clean it. Well, it's not going to stay like that. It's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's obviously in that example, you have to clean regularly to make sure the dust doesn't build up. So if it's pain in your back, if it's pain in your hips, if it's that you're overweight, if it's that you've got poor energy, if it's that you're weak, if it's that you keep injuring yourself, if all you keep doing is trying to treat the symptom, which is what so many people do, right? Like they get painkillers or they see a chiropractor or a physio or whatever, and they try and get something that's just going to allow them to keep going how they are without addressing the underlying health issues, which exercise is always a part of, always. We're born to move. We're not born to not move around. Then there's a lot of problems that are coming down the road for you. So you have to say to yourself, you're sitting here, you're looking in the mirror, you're overweight, you're feeling crap, you can't fit in your clothes anymore, and you've got this motivation to go and lose some weight. But you've got to turn that into okay, wow, this is getting bad and it's going to get worse. I need to just change my lifestyle habits, not I need to achieve this goal in a short term. Because that focus on the end result rather than the focus on the process, which we talk about a lot, is it's what people need to do. It's what people need to focus on. And we went and saw Ross Walker. I told you, a cardiologist who's a world-renowned cardiologist in Australia, and he is a very matter-of-fact person, isn't he? I've never met him before. Yani knows. I've never met him. Yeah, man, he is like Alana and I walked out of that office, and Alana joked and said, "God, I can imagine he'd offend some people." Because he's so down the line. And something that he said to us. Now, what I'm about to say, this isn't my opinion. And he said this to me. He said it in the office. He said, this isn't my social opinion. This is my medical opinion. This is the medical opinion of a leading cardiologist in the world. Someone who's had a career as a cardiologist and a doctor for over 30 years. And a heart surgeon for over 30 years. He said, we are not designed to have children over the age of 35, and anybody who wants to have children over the age of 35 are stupid. And Alana kind of looked at him and like we scraped in, Alana was 35, but he was referring to me as well. He was referring to men. And I went, oh, wow, what do you mean, Ross? And he said, we're just like, look at the rise of all the birth defects and problems, and not necessarily retarded or handicapped children, but autism, ADHD, all these things. People are blaming it all on vaccinations, but vaccinations haven't changed much in the last 100 years. In fact, they've gotten better. But what's happening a lot is there's all these issues with people's babies and people's kids. And what's happening is parents are getting older. People are getting older before they have kids. But to bring it back into this, over the age of 35, this is what he said, we're dying. We are genetically designed to thrive and grow up until the ripe old age of 35, and then we start to die off. And if you only need to go back a few thousand years, and that's when people died, really. People died at about 30 to 35, usually because they were getting a bit older and they couldn't outrun the tiger anymore or whatever it was, or they got a cold and their body was vulnerable and they just couldn't fight it off, And so we now live in this world where people are living so far beyond how we're genetically designed to live for. And we haven't caught on to the fact yet that we have to do something in order to ensure that life is a life worth living. Like we've ticked the box of, okay, we've beaten most, at least in the Western world, we've beaten most of these diseases that kill us off younger. And guess what, you anti-vaxxers? It's because of vaccines. That's why we've beaten them. Not my opinion. But so we're living these long, ripe old ages now, but people are getting overweight. They're getting poor health. They're losing muscle mass. They can't move well. They've got injuries. They've got pain. And they're always looking for the Band-Aid solution, the quick fix, rather than the what can I do in order to live a better life? And that is what we're talking about here. It's develop long-term goals. Look at your health, your fitness. Look at the reasons why you exercise as a lifestyle, not as a reason to achieve something in 30 to 90 days. Because 30 to 90 days, there's nothing you can really achieve that's worthwhile in anything, except maybe with Bitcoin. Maybe you can achieve something worthwhile in 30 to 90
no,
days.
not even. Not even. You should be, and this is something that Craig Jenkins in the group has been commenting on here. It's the same with everything. Trading and investing is exactly the same. You got to look at it like a value investor does. And if you're not willing to buy and hold something for 10 years, And this is the same with your health. You've got to look at like, well, you do something that you can do for a decade. So enjoy it, whatever you choose to do, however you decide to exercise and eat, for God's sake,
I'm about 6 years into a 10-year health plan, and it's only just starting to unravel for me. And part of the reason why
unravel sounds bad. You mean come together?
Come together for me. Okay. Come together for me. Because along my journey, I uncovered major imbalances in my shoulder from injuries that I had 20 years ago that I've had to deal with, which is part of my 10-year plan, because part of my 10-year plan was to get my body moving better than it's ever done before, become stronger, more flexible, fitter, and in better shape than I was in my 20s. And along that journey, I uncovered weak links in my kinetic chain due to poor choices when I was younger, injuries that I thought were gone, done, and dusted with. So all these things come into play. And this is where the long-term, because I love... I think it was Tony Robbins, but it was definitely someone notable that we've listened to or read books of over the last 10 years. And he talks, it's Tony Robbins. He talks about how people are always concerned about what they can achieve in a year or in 6 months. He said, fucking think about what you can achieve in 15 years. Because if you have a 1-year goal and 6 months into it, you're not close to it, it's really disheartening. But if you have a 15-year goal and you're 2 years into it and you're not very far, you don't even think much of it at all. Yep. You just know that everything you're doing is gaining momentum towards that big goal.
Yeah, 100%. And be prepared to have to pivot along the way. But
all the time.
But
I didn't plan on having the shoulder injuries that I've dealt with. I had to pivot massively. But
this is the thing: if you've planned long term, I mean, I'm trying to figure out a way of explaining that your nutrition and your exercise is not a diet or a program, it's a lifestyle. And I know that sounds so cliche, and I don't want it to sound cliche, but this is where I really pondered a lot, spending so much quality time just sitting and talking with my parents over the last couple of weeks, and really just thinking, why can these guys not get it? Why can they not achieve what they need to achieve? Why does my dad have to suffer such severe back pain and chronic back pain? Why does my mum have to stay on this hamster wheel trying to lose weight unsuccessfully? And why is my stepfather probably ill-fated to disease? And the reality is that they just don't accept that it has to be a change in lifestyle, like a complete change, not just a prescription of a medication or a pain pill or a little bit of exercise. A physiotherapist is going to solve my dad's problems. Or
Dad always says, I don't want to have to do the whole program.
What exercise can I do just to fix my sciatica?
What's the exercises for sciatica?
What lotion can I rub on my body to solve all my problems? And I know it's in our human nature to want to do the minimum effort possible, stay as comfortable as possible, and not change. Change is very hard. There's a myriad of books written on change and how to change and how to effectively make changes in your life. But the reality is that it all starts with step one, this motivation. What's motivating you to exercise? Is it just a quick fix solution to a problem that you're experiencing right now, or an event you've got coming up? Like my mum's best example is that she lost weight so successfully, the best she's ever done in the last 30 years, to prepare for my sister's wedding. 16 kilos. She trained with me for 12 weeks, 3 months, lost 16 kilos, looked incredible, and then gained it all back way quicker than that after the wedding, And I just think, like, why can it not become part of their lifestyle, ongoing? And the reason is because it's uncomfortable, and the reason, and we don't like to be uncomfortable. And the reality is that you don't prep your mind and motivation to deal with that little bit of discomfort every day, and just accept it and embrace it and go, that's okay. We are going to do this now. This is my new life. I am going to get up and exercise every day. I'm going to cut out the shit that I'm eating. I'm going to reduce the alcohol that I'm consuming. I'm going to spend more time sleeping. I'm going to do these things that I know are a necessity to achieve the goals I want to achieve, and I'm going to embrace them, and I'm going to do them forever. I'm not going to do them periodically when it suits me or when I'm in that much pain that I have to.
It's so much easier. Like you might be listening to this and thinking, oh my God, that is so hard. any change is hard. If you want to make any change, it is hard to do. Like real change, a real change in your lifestyle and your habits, anything. Like anybody that's used to sleeping in and starting work at midday and finishing at 9 p.m. or whatever it is, and all of a sudden has to shift to a morning job where they've got to be at work at 5:30. It's unbelievably hard to make that change. But people do that one a lot easier because you know that you're going to lose your job if you don't turn up. And so people deal with it. But it's easier to make this change and then live this new lifestyle of health than it is to continue to lose health. I've got a couple of friends who for 20 years I tried to get them to understand the importance of this, and for 20 years they bought in mentally. They always nodded their head and agree with me when I told them, but they never made the changes, and their health has gotten so bad that whenever I speak to them, it's like whenever you ask that, hey, how you doing? It's always about the pain and discomfort that they're suffering in their body.
This is the thing, and this is what I'm flabbergasted with. My stepfather was like, not even death, not even in the face of death, is it enough to motivate you to change. My stepfather just dodged a bullet with cancer.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was convinced. I sat down with him and my mother. They came to Sydney. They were seeing a specialist. And I sat down and said, okay, this is a really great, you know, look at this from a positive. This is going to be the catalyst that gets you to change your lifestyle, both of you. You know, finally, Mark's going to be motivated to exercise, and you know, and you guys are going to be motivated to cut out the shit that you're consuming, and really embrace a healthier lifestyle. Because if you don't, chances are that there's going to be a recurrence, and you won't make it the second time around. You know, and not even that has been enough of a catalyst to encourage him to do regular exercise and to sort of change the diet and things like that. And I'm baffled by that. I'm like, What other motivator would you need other than debt? Like, what's more motivating than, okay, if you don't change, you've got two choices: exercise every day and eat better, and you know, make a few lifestyle changes, or die. What suits you more? You know?
Yeah, I love that. Remember that meme when we did that metabolic function workshop that we did, and the meme was a doctor talking to a patient, and it said, what suits your busy schedule better, 1 hour of exercise a day or being dead 24 hours a day?
Yeah, yeah, literally. I'm flabbergasted that wasn't even enough, you know. And the reality is because somewhere the psychology is broken. Somewhere he doesn't believe that that's actually going to happen, or that it's actually going to help, or that's, you know, going to have enough of an impact to be worth it, or there's something not there that's missing. Because for me, for you, for Richard, for a lot of our audience, it's black and white. Yeah. Like, you would just go, okay, I'm going to do whatever it takes, even if I'm not 100% convinced that that's going to be the thing. I'm still going to give it a crack, because what do I have to lose? All my life, you know.
Yeah, and the problem is that, you know, people, like, the world is just filled with examples of people waiting until it's too late, you know, like they wait until, I mean, our stepdad got really lucky. He, you know, they invested.
This time.
Yeah, that's right. But this time, you know, the surgery cut the tumor out and cut the melanoma out, and he's, you know, told that, look, it looks okay. But that's a sign of what's going on in your body, you know, when you get to that state. A lot of people aren't so lucky. I mean, heart disease, cardiovascular disease is the biggest killer in the Western world. More people die of cardiovascular disease. And to our listeners, because I know that Yani knows this, have a guess what the first symptom in about 45%, I can't remember the exact number, but it's above 40%, of cardiovascular diseases. Have a guess what the first symptom in over 40% is. Death.
It's death.
It's
you
death.
Just die.
That's what happens. So you're going through life, no idea I have cardiac disease, and then you die, and then they cut you open and they go, wow, this guy's got like really bad cardiac disease.
Cardiovascular
disease, and you didn't know it until you died. Now, for a lot of people, so, you know, 50 or 55% of people, that doesn't happen. They don't die. They have a heart attack, and then they realize they've got it, and they go through and get all these scans and everything. But then most people die shortly afterwards. You know, most people that have one heart attack.
Well, I've been through the statistics with Ross Walker, the cardiologist, because I'm lucky to call him a friend, and I used to train his personal assistant. But there's an alarming, I can't remember it, but it's an enormous percentage of people have a recurrence within the first year or two, and generally die from that,
Generally
because
die
they
from
don't
the second
change their
one.
lifestyle,
Yeah.
know. But that's also the same. Often that's the same with cancer. I don't know if this is true. Someone can probably chime in and correct me, but I believe that there is a similar recurrence with people that have cancer and then don't change their lifestyle and often get a pretty big recurrence as well.
And the worst thing about it all is that the things that we're just describing there are in most cases preventable. So we've gone off on a tangent here, but we've gone off on a tangent because I think it's really relevant. And it was funny. I knew what Ross Walker was talking about when he said about the age of 35. But when I heard a cardiologist saying it to me, you'd have to be an idiot to argue with somebody like Ross Walker. You would have to be an idiot, honest to God. Like, it's somebody with that much...
Well, he's not just a cardiologist. He is involved in a lot of the research. He's the author of 5 or 6 very successful books.
He's writing a new book called Medicine or Health.
Yeah.
Where the idea of it is about what's better for you, having medicine or getting healthy.
Yeah.
So he's a very holistic, natural medical professional. Like, the way that he explained to us is that, medicine and things like that are like a last resort. He's all about changing lifestyle and eating healthy and things like that. But yeah, to hear somebody like him say the things to me that I kind of already knew, it just really drove it home for me. It just made me really think about the way that people are living their lives. And if we bring it back to the topic of conversation, this idea of having these short-term goals is flawed. It's so flawed. Like, most people's short-term goals are usually vanity driven, right? Like, I've rarely had somebody come in and say, look, I've got 30 days to get the splits.
Yeah.
I want to get flexible in 30 days for summer. It's never like that, right? So, like, if your body isn't looking the way that you want it to, like we always talk about, with the health hierarchy of needs, step 4 is physique. What we say to people is that you don't even need to worry about physique because when you get step 1, 2, and 3 right, the physique happens naturally, and it does.
And don't get us wrong, physique is a major driving force in all of our reason for training and exercise, and it's good. I think we're blessed with this drive, it's in our DNA, it's in our psychology that we want to be appealing to the opposite or same sex, whatever floats your boat. I think it's a blessing because it is often the thing that gets you started. It's enough to get you through the door. It's enough to get you going, and then from there, it's about educating yourself and learning how to take it further and why to take it further. And unfortunately, there are a lot of us who are just so dogmatic and so far gone in our psychology that it isn't enough. We've just given up on ourselves, and we just go, stuff it. And for whatever reason, it might be that you're just comfortable, complacent, or just don't really care anymore. I don't think it's a disease. I think it's a blessing that we care about our how we look, and I think it's great because it often gets us going. But it is short term. It's seldom enough to keep you going long term, and it's what we're talking about today.
That's all right. Hope you guys enjoyed that discussion. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments. We'll answer them for you. If you're listening to this live or before the 21st of April 2020, jump over to the Facebook group UMS Movement Mastermind. Click the link and grab the deal to get the Flexibility Masterclass or any of the 3 phases of the Flexibility Masterclass. It's a really good opportunity to get, without a doubt, one of our most popular programs using modern methods to get strong and flexible all at the same time. And if you've enjoyed this show and you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Like the video, share it with your friends and subscribe to our channel. And of course, if you like the podcast, consider subscribing to the podcast as well. Everyone in the UMS online coaching group, jump on over to that group right now and let's get ready for your live coaching call. See you all tomorrow, everyone. And welcome back, Yani.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Health is about performance, not just body image.
You better be willing to accept what you're going to have to do to get there.
We'll start focusing on movement goals, strength goals, flexibility goals.
When you nail that skill, that's there forever.
The body image goal doesn't get you that
It's
far.
the consistency and frequency that's going to get you there. It's not the intensity.
There's no shortcuts to mastery and movement. Destination doesn't change overnight, but your direction will.
The gym is not the place to beat up the body that you hate. It's the place to build the body that you love.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.